So I'm glad, G. Brian, to know that it's a nice day, because then they can get out. And that makes their well-being a lot better. So that works. This is my book that we're talking about. It's called Strength, Meditations for Wisdom, Balance, and Power. And I was actually retired for the third time when I saw Michael Kerber from Red Will Weiser at a trade show. And he asked me if I wanted to write another book. And I said, what would I write it about? Aging. And by the time I got home, I had this one almost outlined. Wow. And it was my response to the election and what I saw going on in the world. And so mainly it is, what I hope to do is empower women, for the most part, to be strong, because I think the feminine values and feminine qualities are what we need to bring our back in balance and harmony, G. Brian. I think we're so out of balance and harmony. So there was a third part to your question. I don't remember what oh, yeah. Okay. What am I doing? I'm doing stuff like this, and I'm connecting with people like you guys. And I'm learning stuff. The stuff I'm learning, because I had just turned 80. So I am not a computer person. So, but Debbie is helping me, so that helps. So I'm learning new stuff, but the major thing I'm doing is I'm trying to be gentle. I'm trying to be gentle with myself. I'm trying to be gentle with my husband, who is fragile. And so there's some caretaking going on. But last night I so wanted to say something that wasn't nice. And I just said to myself, it wasn't too nice, but it was true. And I just said, what's the gentle way to approach this? And so I didn't end up saying something I would have regretted. Yeah. So,
oh, Sue, that is so beautiful. I love that you've brought in, I mean, G. Brian brought in the balance, and you're bringing in this idea of gentleness. And that's so beautiful. Such a nice thing for ourselves and others right now.
Right. We all need it.
We
all need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of gentleness, I need it for myself, because as you were talking, I realized I hadn't started the recording until just now. So I'm going to be very gentle and just say I was so enchanted with meeting all of you that I completely forgot. I'm sorry to anybody who's listening to this later. We missed that beautiful meditation of Susyn's, which I'm very sorry. But I'm just going to be gentle.
Good.
So Susyn, hello, welcome.
Hello. So I'm Susyn Reeve, and my book is Heart Healing, The Power of Forgiveness to Heal a Broken Heart. And so being gentle and forgiving with yourself is a good deal of what I'm all about. And what I think is really crucial is that we cultivate a loving relationship with ourselves. And that means so much of what has already been said, those success habits. It means stopping and having the awareness before the words fall out or sometimes vomit out of our mouths, and really ask the question of what would love do here. So I've been living in Wilmington, North Carolina for the winter, but I'm actually in Hilton Head, South Carolina during this shelter-in-place time. And what I noticed, so I've been sheltering in place for about 3.5 weeks now. And what I initially noticed is I had this great desire to give. I wanted to share what I knew. I wanted to share what works for me. And so my self-care started going down the tubes. And so what I find really crucial is a routine. So today is day 17 of meditating first thing in the morning. And now I've included a walk in the morning rather than waiting for later in the day, and then later in the day turns into evening. And really celebrating when I do these things, good for me. And combined with that, I do a Facebook Live late morning, which I need, and every other day I do another group in the afternoon to focus on meditating together and inspiring words, because I need as much focus as I can get to stay aligned.
Wow. Thank you, Susyn. What a great reminder about the importance of self-care in the form of a routine. Particularly, you know, for you, it might look like meditation and a walk, but for other people, it might look differently. But what a great thing to start the day that way. Thank you. I love that. So I wanted to now ask, I know that each of our authors who has come today, we posed the question, you know, is there something in particular you want to share around this particular moment in time, in these difficult times? What would you like to share from your book that speaks to positivity, to self-care, to compassion? G. Brian?
Well, I mean, ultimately, I think there's 48 chapters in my book, and they're all, you know, a whole bunch of different ideas on ways that we can improve our lives, obviously. And I think we're, you know, as you all would agree, I'm sure we're here to learn and grow. And one of the toughest things for us to do is to learn how to love and accept ourselves, you know, and Susyn was talking a little bit about that. And so I think everything funnels towards that. You know, all the different habits that are in my book, or the different balance things that I talk about in another book. I mean, those all funnel us to learn how to love and accept ourselves by becoming more self-aware and learning how to become more proactive. And, you know what I mean? Just getting that self-awareness. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things I could talk about in my books. I mean, I already kind of touched on, you know, how important balance is, and, you know, compassion and gratitude. But I think a really great thing for someone to do right now is to get creative. I think that's a form of meditation as well. Not only that, but it's a connection to source, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it. And it's, I think I always feel better when I'm creating whatever, you know, whether it's playing music or writing a script or a book, you name it, spoken word piece. And so, you know, I would highly recommend people to focus on that right now. If they're kind of like feeling a little stuck or in a holding pattern, just go do something and get creative, and just watch how that opens things up. Not only that, but I think a lot of times, if I can just get that process going, then it leads to something else, or my intuition starts to kick in even stronger. And that's another thing with balance. The more in balance that we can I know balance is a moving target, so we're not always going to be where we want to be, but the more that we can find that place of solidifying our foundation, the stronger our intuition is going to come through.
Wow, so much great stuff in there. I particularly love that you brought up creativity, you know, because I think in a lot of ways, when people are in, you know, we're kind of really stressful, difficult times, that may be one of the first things that goes out the window. Right. And what you're saying, in my opinion, you know, in my experience, creativity, it really does connect us to something else, whatever you want to call that, you know, and there's an energy in that. And I think that fuels us in a new way. In my experience, creativity helps me feel more like I have more to give somehow.
Raises our vibration.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I want to just point out, you sent me something, I think it was yesterday, which a creative project that you had just done. Yeah. Right? You just want to say, I mean, first I want to say, before you do, I want to say your creativity picked me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to tell us about that?
Well, in a nutshell, I do a little bit of acting as well on top of all the other stuff. And a buddy of mine who's incredibly creative, and he was on an NBC show this last year, got the ball rolling and made this little minute video where he's kind of like, it's called Texting in the Time of Corona. And he came up with a little script, and then he did the voiceover, and then he recorded himself just kind of like texting his message out that was, you know, voiced over his actions. And then he laid tint over it, so to kind of give it an old time feel, and probably put a little bit of a soap opera music to it. And so he said, all right, everybody, let's see what you got. And so there's probably 10 or 12 of them up there now on his Instagram page. He's doing the editing for us. And so I just came up with a little silly thing, how, you know, I'm dealing with the isolating that's been going on for the last 2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, and you know, you're kind of shrugging. If people could see you, they'd see you're kind of like, but you know, the truth of it is, and I just want to underscore this, that we so much need humor right now.
Oh my God, yes.
It's one of the ways that we do take care of ourselves. And you may have thought like, oh, I'll just send this off, but actually, you know, I was actually having kind of a stressful moment about some technology snafus. I got your thing, and it, you know, it really changed my mood. So I'm glad you brought up creativity, and you know, hopefully maybe we'll talk a little more about that as yeah. So Sue, what about you? What would you like to share from us from your book that you feel is a good support right now?
Well, I think that one of the things I always try to do in all my books is really to have us, as everybody's saying, love ourselves more, be as compassionate with ourselves as we are with our plants and our dogs and friends, and but also I think it's time that women especially, and the feminine in men, G. Brian, is to step up and acknowledge the excellence of what we innately have. And I think our world needs it. I think we're innately incredibly strong. I mean, any of you here who've birthed a person know that that takes a hell of a lot of strength. And to raise those people takes a hell of a lot of strength. We just, the feminine in us is incredibly strong, but those qualities are also inclusive and compassionate, and you could almost say the antithesis of most things that we're seeing now. And so we need to me, that is our hope. And so my book is all about helping us do that, me included, you know, absolutely, because those of us who write know that we really write our own selves. So yeah, and yeah. So, and the gentleness extends to that too, because we're all works in progress, and if we're gentle, we can work more easily than if we're not. Because when we're not gentle, as you guys all know, it's like going right down on our creativity and our joie. How do you say that? Joie de vivre? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Joie de vivre, is that how?
Yes.
Okay. So the you say it next.
I hacked it. No. Sherry knows better than I.
Yeah. So mostly, I'm hoping that all my books, I've done several, and I started when I was about half the age I am now. So there are, you know, they're out there, but I just want them to be encouraging. I want them to be healing. I want them to be heart opening, and all those things that we want for ourselves. And I just happen to love words and love to play in that area. And I was a therapist for many, many years and a hospice chaplain. So there's, what I know about that is humor and creativity and self-love can be with us until the very end. And then of course beyond, I'm pretty sure. So,
wow.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you said something about creativity, because I'm not a very good, but a very enthusiastic painter. And so the thing I love to do the most is make birthday cards for people. You just sort of take the essence of them and maybe do something. So I'm doing the birthday card I'm sending to somebody, well, actually right across here, she's my neighbor, is a dove, a peace dove, but it's red, and it's dangling a peace sign that's made out of some gold leaf that my mother got from my mother. And the reason that is she is an activist, but she's got that soul of peace. And then I'm doing a self-portrait, and it's a sloth. It's the cutest darn sloth you've ever seen. But yeah, but I figure at this age, you know, I can be slothful if I choose.
I think
So,
a lot of us are feeling like sloths right now.
right. Well, I should send you a picture because this is a cute one. But it's got a real cute little sassy look on her face and stuff.
You don't have it right there by your desk, do you?
I do not, and she's not quite done yet. So,
All right.
yeah.
All right. Well, listen, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I suddenly felt called to ask if you would open up your book and read us something. I don't know why.
Sure.
I just felt like there was something that maybe wanted to be read.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this, I'm going to open this for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Adapting to the inevitable and unavoidable. Oh, we don't have to do that these days, do we? Yeah. It's kind of long. I mean, you know, this little blurb is kind of long. I'll read the first paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay?
that sounds
All right.
good.
Life is a continual spiral of transition and change. Control is illusion. Yes, we can control a few things for a little while. For instance, most of you can hold your breath for several seconds or minutes if you're a free diver or a yogini. But eventually you must breathe again. Outside circumstances, other people, and our automatic brain reactions are not easily controlled, no matter how determined we are or hard we try. Thankfully, with mindfulness and practice, we can find the strength to control many of our attitudes, thoughts, actions, responses, and choices. Many of these alterations come into play when adapting to something unwanted or unavoidable. And then I'm going to do just one sentence because it's not my quote, but it's a poet, Jewish poet, and I'm going to screw up his name, but it's Judah Halevi. 'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch. And I think, I'm getting all choked up. We all know that where we are right now, death will probably touch us all in some way. And that is a fearful thing to love, but it is what we must do.
Oh my goodness. Wow, Sue. That was exactly what was needed. Thank you.
I think that's Welsh Sherry. I would have never thought of that.
Oh, that was beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. That's
Thank you.
beautiful. I'm so glad you brought that into the conversation. We need to keep loving. Yeah. Yeah. Susyn.
Yes, thank you both, G. Brian and Sue, because it's just bubbled up so many thoughts within me. And so I'm going to start with the most frequent in terms of the quote that you just read, Sue. And that was, I apprenticed with Don Miguel Ruiz for 2.5 years. He's the author of a non-mango book called The Four Agreements. But one of the things that he said repeatedly was that in the presence of the angel of death, all there is love. Mm. And it's such a reminder, whether the death is of a human, the death is of a relationship, which is the story that I tell in my book, Heart Healing, the ending of a relationship I was in and the heartbreak associated with that. But any kind of loss is a call for love, is a call for us to love ourselves, and is a call for us, and this relates to something you said early on, Sue, which is for us to be authentic in what we're feeling. You know, I wake up in the morning and I meditate and I'm feeling good from that silence and I get focused for the day. And then the most minor thing might occur. You know, I drop something, I spill water on the floor, I've got to bend down and wipe it up. But, you know, I'm not talking about the big things that are associated with the coronavirus. And there are plenty of big things. The isolation, the being with your kids all day long when you're not used to it, the being with your partner or spouse all day long when you're not used to that.
Mhm.
But truly allowing ourselves to acknowledge what we're feeling. Because if you think about it, if you want to be positive, if you want to be loving, if you want to be free of fear, even if it's just for a few moments, we must start where we are. It's like a GPS. You must put in your current location in order to get where you want to go. And so whether it's journal writing, whether it's talking to a trusted confidant, friend, family member, dog, the trees, the ocean, whatever it is, allowing yourself to express whatever you're feeling, both the emotional name for it as well as the physical sensations. And expressing it, if it's to another person, don't express it to somebody who's going to throw gasoline on that fire, who's just going to now tell you their problems or why you should be angry and why you're justified. And I want to say just one more thing about creativity. And that is, you know, the basis of heart healing is that our relationship with ourself forms the blueprint for all the relationships in our life. So for many years, I sent daily affirmations to people. And then as much as I like the idea of affirming, that word didn't capture it for me anymore. So I went through another few years of these daily messages. I call them daily power statements. And that, I just didn't like the feeling of that over time, although affirming was empowering. So for the past about 5 years, I've been calling them love notes to myself. And so here's my creativity. I'm going to do a show and tell briefly. And this is in a book that I just made.
Yay, Susyn. Thank
I
you.
make, I don't know if it fits in the
Can
screen.
you hold
I
it a
do,
little bit closer?
I
Yeah.
do collages. And this is a very simple one that I take words from my book.
Oh, cool.
And I include them in the collages.
Yeah.
And they can be used and they can be as simple as, what do you want to have bloom in your life? There's a little flower up there. And so I am a cheerleader for creativity, because the truth is our greatest creation is the life that we live.
Wow, Susyn. That was so beautiful. I love that. I love that you shared that with us. And Marilyn had posted, actually to Sue, but I'm going to say the same thing to you. She had said, you know, oh, post your sloth picture on Facebook. It'd be great for you to do the same if you wanted to post a few of those. And same with you, G. Brian, if there's anything visual from your book that you think would be supportive. What a fun thing to do, you know, to share these things after this call. Thank you for that, Marilyn. But yeah, Susyn, there were so many beautiful things in there. Just that call to love, you know. Thank you. Wow. I'd really like to open it up right now to see, there were so many amazing, beautiful things just shared. Does anybody want to say anything in response to what they've heard from the authors? And again, you can *6 if you're on the phone to unmute, or you can press your little microphone if you're here with us on the computer.
It's Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi there. So what I'm present to is just how incredible people are. Everyone has, you know, I'm a coach, a relationship and communication and leadership coach, and everyone says the same thing, but not exactly the same way. You know, the way they connect to spirit, the words they use to create the meditation, strength. I don't focus on that. I talk about it sometimes, but I loved when Sue shared about it. And yeah, you know, when G. Brian talked about creativity and I mean, it's just, and Susyn and I have been talking a lot, and the way that she expresses things is just so sweet. In fact, we became friends because I read her book, Choose Peace and Happiness. I had on my bookshelf for like since 2000 and I don't know what, early. And I finally said, just before the coronavirus, I think this is the year when I'm going to go through that book. It's 52 lessons, one a week. And I read like the first few lessons and I'm like, I have to talk to this woman. And I reached out to her and we become friends. But it's so amazing how we think, oh, everything's been said already. No, not the way we will. And I've got my own book, you know, and so there's a lot of things that I write about that other people write about, but it's not, we all have our own self-expression. And I think it's so important that we own that. And we have confidence in ourselves because nobody is going to say things and show up the way that we do. We're unique in the universe. So it's just, I'm just so present. And I've fallen in love with all three of them. And you, it's just, I'm so happy to be here. This is just a bright light in the middle of the day.
Hallelujah.
I wanted to add in as Susyn's editor, and that she was inspired to write Choose Peace and Happiness because of 9/11 and standing in her front yard in Long Island, I think, looking across to Manhattan and seeing it and thinking, I mean, well, you tell us your inspiration, because it feels like we're at a very different yet somewhat similar moment in time.
Yeah, I had, it was 9/11. I was living in East Hampton. I was born and raised in Manhattan. And I wrote a letter to my local newspaper, the East Hampton Star, about, really about hatred and the call for love in the midst of that. And each of us making a commitment to be loving. And that resulted in Choose Peace and Happiness, which then now has morphed into the Wholehearted Life, which has led me to heart healing, the power of forgiveness to heal a broken heart. And I truly believe that healing our hearts and being loving is the final frontier.
And now we're having heart wisdom. You know, I have a question I want to ask everyone, maybe starting with Sue. What do we think people are going to need? Like, I know that right now we're sheltering in place and trying to stay healthy and not harm anyone else. Other people are, like, you know, going already through financial issues. I know 2 people in the Bay Area that are already not able to pay their rent because one was a chef at a restaurant and that closed like almost almost a month ago. And then he got furloughed with 0 salary. And another is a beauty professional and this, you know, where she works also closed. Like aside from, like, you know, food and shelter and money, what are people going to need? What can we do? What can we do to help people, like, a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now?
Well, I think it depends on our talents, you know, really, Brenda. I couldn't provide like extra money for somebody, but I can sure be present for somebody. So a person called me this morning and just said, I've hit a new low and can you call? And I wasn't exactly high myself yesterday, but just to have that call perked me up today. And when we got off the phone, and it's not to say you should do this or you should do that or gosh, what can I do? Because sometimes that's even hard for people who are really in trouble and really, you know, suffering. But it's to just really be there I mean, just, I think embrace is the word that I would want to use, but in whatever form that takes for you. For me, it's mostly listening and empathy. One of the young women in my neighborhood is going insane because she's not a good homeschooler. She doesn't like it. She doesn't want it. She's got two incredibly bright kids. When I see her on the trail when she's running, you know, I just stop, and she stops, and she just goes blah, 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 blah. And I listen. And God, other than that, I think we need to just check with ourselves and see, what do I have to offer? Because other than that, I don't know. I
So
mean,
in some ways, bearing witness.
yeah, that's a,
And bearing witness.
and that bearing witness holds it. And I think, to me, it helps us. Well, my clients used to, I mean, I felt like as a therapist, I could pretty much distill stuff. Like people said, see me, hear me, hold me. And if we can have that, we can learn to trust ourselves, and we can learn that there's trustworthy witnesses out there. We have a crisis in trust now, with good reason. So for me, that's I mean, I can send money to people and stuff like that, but on a more personal basis, I think the presence is what I can offer. It sounds puny, but I think it's.
Oh no, no. Sorry, didn't mean to jump in there, but no.
That's okay. You know, because a lot of us have a sub-personality that is, I can fix this. I went into that person inside of me on Monday because my husband was having a hard time, and I just went right into superhero mode. And I was exhausted afterwards. But it was a really good thing to learn what my balance was, and to practice compassionate non-attachment. I know that the Buddhist teaching is to practice compassionate detachment, but that's a little too harsh for me. So compassionate non-attachment works. And then we can really be more present too when we learn to do that.
Wow.
No matter what we do, we're going to screw it up sometimes. And that's just the way it is.
I have something that I'd like to add to Brenda, to your question. And I think it's appreciating and acknowledging. And I think it builds on what Sue said in terms of being present for people. And I went into the supermarket yesterday, and I heard two of the employees having a conversation about how unappreciative a number of customers had been that day. Mm-hmm. And I overheard them say that, and I turned around and I said, I just want you to know how much I appreciate your being here, stocking the shelves, wiping off the handles of these carts with a sanitizer. And as I was checking out, I saw one of those employees, and she just beamed at me with a huge smile. So whether it's acknowledging someone's courage in their sharing their deepest fears or worries, or it's acknowledging the person who's stacking the shelves, or in New York at 7 o'clock at night when people open up their windows and shout hooray to the healthcare workers, that recognition and appreciation is simply another expression of love.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, G. Brian, did you want to add anything?
No, I think those are both awesome, Sue and Susyn, and I totally agree. You know, I think the more that we can be kind to ourselves and to others right now, I think just the better off we'll all be, because, you know, there's an underlying level of fear flowing through, and for myself, you know, I think I'm just what I can offer is just to try to be myself and share what I do that helps me, go through this period. And I've been doing a weekly Facebook Live, and just to kind of just build community. And I'm lucky in that I have a pretty even keel energy no matter what's going on. And so I hope that maybe my calmness helps. I think, we just got to do the best we can, but ultimately it comes down to loving ourselves and loving others and being kind and compassionate.
Wow.
But we have to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I don't think we can underscore this enough, that the energy that we're bringing, or my own spiritual teacher likes to say, to be a social relief. Like if we can be not one of the people who's, panicking and, causing more sort of fear, then that adds,
It's huge.
it does. And the other thing that came up for me, Brenda, when you were asking that, is that I feel as if one of the things that certainly for me, and I think I've heard other people talk about this, is the sense of this movement from me to we that has happened and is continuing to happen. And I feel as if the more we get to have conversations about like what you're saying, right? Oh, I remember Brenda said that, like, what's going on with the person who does my hair? How can I reach out to her? What could I do? Could I send her something, a check, a donation? Or just thinking about, well, what about those restaurants that I love? What can I do for them? And I love that you asked that question, because I think, I may work from home and have a job. Other people don't. So it's just like these conversations like you're bringing up are so helpful, just to open up our minds to this global community. Did you want to say something?
Well, and I say it's so important to connect right now, because everybody's going stir crazy. I'm an introvert and I'm going stir crazy, but so connection is so important, as Susyn was mentioning, give a thanks to the people that are out there exposing themselves, all the time, and just connect any way you can.
Yeah. Anybody else who's here, it doesn't just have to be those of us on the panel. I'm curious, does anybody have anything they wanted to say about this?
I'm a little late, sorry. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I've just noticed that when I was in the store a couple times, that people had a shell shock look, and I stopped and waved and said hello and smiled, because if you don't, you just keep that same energy going. And I'm not like that. I'm a kind of an introvert too, like Brian, but at the same time, I think we have to let people know it's okay. It is what it is, but in the meantime, let's be positive and let's share a smile. Let's wave at people so that they're not walking around, like even in the post office, like, oh my God, don't touch me. I'm a people person. And even though I can't hug them, I can still wave and say hello and make them feel not so in shell shock, is what I call it. That's the look they have on their face.
Yeah.
So,
Colleen, I just want to say, I don't know you, we've never met, but you come on the call, you've got a smile, your energy is bright, right? So here you are doing exactly what you're talking about for us. And
good.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. Like, I think it's so important to, it's like, I'm just guessing, no matter where you go, you're kind of spreading these little glittery moments for people.
I try.
I get that, right? And thank you. So, thanks for doing that here, because you could have very well just stayed off camera, not said anything, and that would have been fine. But you chose to bring us a part of you.
Once I figured out how to turn the camera on.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I love it. Everybody's smiling. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
Marilyn.
yeah. So one of the things I talk about in my book is intentional connection. And I think it is so important, if you're living with someone, that you look at them. If you're not in self-isolation, you hug them, you be loving to them. What Sue was sharing about, you manage your reactions. So love is what's coming. We all need that. No one is being evil in our homes that we're living with, hopefully. So we want to connect, because we're living in a world that is uncertain, it's volatile, It's complex and ambiguous. The acronym is VUCA, you know, with the V first. And that started being used around leadership conversations in the early 2000s. And now I believe everyone is in a VUCA world. We're all dealing with that in a way. Of course, we know you go outside, you get in your car, who knows what's going to happen, but we don't live like we're in fear, or we wouldn't drive. But now there is this presence of that VUCA environment that is so unsettling. And even if children are little, maybe 3, but 4, 5, they may not understand everything, but they can feel the tension. And then you have introverts. I've heard so many introverts say, I love being at home alone, but now I'm going crazy. I really feel isolated. And you need to be reaching out, and like, you know, Gibran, sounds like you are, but a lot of people, you have to actively connect. It's a matter of our mental health we've never been in a situation like this where there's no predictable end. And you don't want to think about that, but that's there. Like, when are we going to be able to go out? Yeah, and hug. My daughter lives a mile away, and I saw her at Home Depot, which was unbelievable. I've never seen her anywhere. And we were talking for a while, and she said, I got to come in for a hug. So we turned our heads like this, and hugged each other. And then she texted me, I wished I'd held you longer. I really needed that. I mean, yes. So that's so important, and that's self-care in this world right now, that we must, you know, be safe and have the connections that fill our heart, and have us feel that we're not alone. And everything that was said is a part of how that, you know, how we need to be to have that. We have to be responsible in a way that we've never had to be to manage our mind.
Wow, Marilyn, thank you so much. I really love the way that you just really came in strongly, because it's so true. When you're talking about connection, I did this for myself, but it's also for other people. But I spent 2 hours this morning writing cards and printing out photographs. I've got hundreds of thousands of photos on but I was just like finding photos randomly, and whoever was in it, I printed out a photo and wrote a card. And I'm so excited it just lifted everything in me to connect to all those people. And of course, it'll get me out for a walk with my mask to go to the post. Oh, you got to go on your walk. Thank you for being here.
Bye, Marilyn.
Bye,
Marilyn.
Marilyn.
Bye. For adding so much to the conversation. That's so sweet. So yeah, just to underscore what she was saying, I just think she just said it so well too, that it's like, for me, I needed that self-care. I have so many friends that I'm used to seeing a lot, and even those across the country. So those original ways that we can connect to people, whatever, this brings in the creativity aspect too, right? That idea of what works for me to connect with people, that can also be kind of like, this was fun for me. I love printing out photos and, you know, getting out the markers, and yeah, I'm curious if anybody else.
Being creative and connecting at the same time.
I was just thinking that too, yeah.
Exactly. I was just going to ask, does anybody else have anything that they do like that? Well, like Sue was talking about, the same thing, like coming up with a customized drawing for someone that really is perfect for them, but that also is your creativity in that.
Hi, this is Calla. I don't have my picture. I guess I can put my picture up there. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll give it a try.
Oh, we're so glad. It'll be fun to see you.
So what happened? It's not going on.
If you click the little video icon in the lower left.
Oh, yes. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay.
You look great.
Thanks. Well, I just wanted to add to that, because I've been doing that, writing cards for people for the last, probably year or so. And I realize as I do it that it brings me as much joy as it brings the other person. It really does. And I also realize that, it has to be intentional. I mean, it's very easy to let relationships just go and get caught up in the day-to-day whatever. And so I've made a real commitment to not let certain relationships go. But you know, you have to work at it, and but it's lovely work. It's wonderful work.
Thoele, thank you. Right. I love that you're bringing the word intention into this conversation right now, because that's so important, right? It's easy to get distracted by everything going on. But what I love what you're saying is that, and you know, and I felt that this morning too, was like this honing in, this intentional, I want to connect with the people I love, you know? Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm such a huge fan of sending things in the mail. So anytime I hear people say that they do that, I'm like, yeah.
Because we don't get letters anymore very often. So
I know. And thanks for coming on video too. I want to tell you, it's really nice.
I'm going to have to leave in 5 minutes. I'm not sure how long this will go, but
we do too. So we'll go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you. It is a gift. I just want to say, just to add this in, it's not necessary for people to come on video, but wow, every time I see someone's face, right? And you guys are probably all experiencing that too, right? It's just like this beautiful added layer of connection. So thank you.
It is positive. I'm glad that Brian invited me. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, we have about 4 minutes left, and I just like to, kind of keep it going. If there's something that someone feels they want to add to the conversation or a question for one of our authors.
I just wanted to
go ahead.
Hi. No, I just wanted to add that a lot of what was said today really has resonated with me. I'm a poet, and I've been having a really hard time writing poetry. But one of the things that I have found myself doing is just sitting down to write emails or text messages to friends, but also my former boss and people like that, to just check in a little bit every day. And so what I've been getting back are sort of stories of what each person is going through, good and bad. And so I get the opportunity to sort of be a sounding board for that person. And I took a break from it for a few days because I needed to. And then I randomly got a phone message from an 81-year-old woman who was in a haiku workshop that I taught 3 years ago. And she just wanted to know how I was. She thought of me because she found my business card and wanted to check in with me and see how I was doing. And I was having a really bad day, and there was just such a surprise, like a nice surprise to get that. It was almost like a reward.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love it sort of boomeranged right back to you in such a beautiful way. Yeah. And just an added note of gratitude. We need our poets right now, don't we? Yeah. So even if you're maybe not writing anything, but if you have other stuff that you're putting out in the world that you've written before, I just think, wow, do we need poetry?
We have another poet. MJ.
MJ!
I'm still here. Yeah, I write poetry, and it's been helping me tremendously since the beginning. This week has been particularly eventful for my family because one of us tried to commit suicide and had to be Baker Act. And
oh no!
With everything going on, none of us has been able to go and see her for a few days, and we worry about how the ward is taking care of patients there. So creativity has helped a lot, and connection, and it was so relevant when you all spoke about that, the value of connecting. I am an introvert, so it requires extra effort, but it's so worth it. And your ideas really reinforced that feeling that I've been having, that I definitely need to reach out in order to stay afloat.
Hey, MJ, just real quick, I feel called to say that Dr. John Duffy, our beloved anxiety author, his brother committed suicide when he was a young man, and that's why he dedicated his life to helping people with anxiety and depression. And I'm sure that if you wanted to have a call with him or something, he would be happy to do that.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
Maybe he'd come on a panel with us.
Yeah, absolutely. He's told me that he's working from, I mean, he manages to squeeze time in here and there, but like he's having to help people until like 9 and 10 at night because his clientele, which is largely parents and teens, but especially like teens, are going through extreme difficulty. And so I think any psychiatrist right now is also sort of a first responder.
Beautiful point. Yeah. Colleen, did you want to say something?
I don't know how many others are, but when I was working or just being too busy in my day before all this, I quit listening to my favorite type of music, which is jazz. And so now it's like I'm remembering to turn that on, and I'm dancing more, and I'm just relaxing more. So all of us can, whether we're having a positive day or not a good day or a sad day, maybe the music will help lift us up.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Gosh, I so loved our time together. I can't believe it's already been an hour. And just want to check in before we close out, if there's anything anybody feels like, you know, you really want to say before we go. Susyn, were you raising your hand?
No, I was getting my hair out of my eyes,
Oh.
but I was thinking that, you know, my book is about forgiveness. And I like to think of the word forgive as 2 words. What are you forgiving? And when we're angry, when we're lost in anger, I'm not talking about when we have, you know, we feel it for a while and we let it move through us. But when we're lost, when we've been seduced by the anger, the fear, the worry, the anxiety, or resentment towards others, that energy moves through our body. So I like to start the day by asking myself, what am I forgiving today? I'm not saying I'm 100% about it then in the course of the day, but it gives me a focus.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Sue or G. Brian, did you want to say any last words before we have to close out?
I just wanted to say that what you and Yadira, how do you say that? How do you say your name?
Yadira.
Yadira, yeah. We're talking about, and others too, was writing to people and being present to them. That's heart opening stuff. And it's so easy to heart close when we have fear. And there's an awful lot of fear, even if we don't personally have it, there's an awful lot we're swimming in. So those heart opening things are wonderful to do.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, I might just add, you know, pay attention to what you're paying attention to, you know, like how much news are you watching? Because that's going to keep you swimming in the fear as well. You know, it's okay to kind of keep up to date, but yet there's a lot of good stuff out there to focus on, whether it's a book or, you know, a documentary, or there's some inspirational stuff on the streaming services too. Or you can read our books.
You read my mind. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, you gave me the perfect segue to say.
Sorry, I stole it from you.
No.
The check's in the mail. The check's in the mail.
I did just want to say a special thank you to our authors who are here, and that their books are amazing. And we will make sure that we get those links posted under this in the replay when we put that in the Mango page. I also want to give a big shout out to Mango Publishing. I know so many of us have felt completely supported by what you've done for us, and that you've allowed us to get our messages of hope and love and forgiveness and gentleness and care out there. And especially right now, you guys have been so supportive and showing up here. I so appreciate it. And I also want to just encourage people now, or who are listening to the replay, to go to the Mango website, and you will be amazed at what a pick-me-up it is to just look at all of the books that are up there, right? I mean, Brenda, it's true, right? So I tell you, sometimes I just go through and I just look at the book covers, and I'm filled with this uplift. So Yeah, please support Mango. They're supporting all of us. So thank you for your time, for
Thank
this
you.
community.
Thank
Really
you, Sharon.
appreciate it.
Thank
We're
you.
hoping to
Thank
do
you
this
very
every
much.
Wednesday for a while, so
Cool.
drop back in.
Yeah, come back.
Thanks,
Cool.
Brenda.
Absolutely.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Brenda.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.